Was that not one of the best? The best, just when this show cannot get any better. I don't care what anybody says. Some of y'all think that this Sister Wives season 19 is boring AF. To me, like, I swear the producers are just trolling us at this point. I swear they want to make Cody look like terrible in the worst light, and we are all benefiting from it. Like at the end of the episode, when Cody starts talking about, in relationships, there's a description, the F's and F's. Some people think it's fighting and fucking and fighting. All you end up with is an orgasm. Like, we're at the stage of this man being a nut job that we're basically dropping like orgasm references. It truly is the best. Welcome to the podcast. I'm Sarah Fraser. Every single Monday throughout the Sister Wives season, I recap the episodes. And last night was episode 6. He delivered me from all my fears. And God, we covered some major things. Christmas with the Browns was real quick. We'll get to that. Christine Brown reveals and introduces us to David Woolley. A lot of people have a lot of commentary on this because repeatedly throughout last night's episode, Christine basically says to her kids, to their faces, to all of us, I really don't care about your opinions. I am moving forward. Oh, you guys think I'm too much PDA? Let me lick David's face. Like, we basically heard, I can't believe we didn't hear about like the first time those two got down. Like, how did we leave that part out? Okay. And when she opens that door, when we see David Woolley come over after a month of dating and ask her ass out, and she's like, hey, baby. And like, she like undresses him and like strips this man with her eye. Have you ever seen anyone hornier on TV than Christine Brown Woolley? Oh, it's so good. We're going to get to all that. Definitely people have a lot of thoughts about Christine and David's relationship, how it unfolded. Christine's response to the kids is getting a lot of discussion and backlash today. Janelle hired a lawyer, spoke with a lawyer about Coyote Pass. So where is that? Like, a lot of people have thoughts on that. And then we also, this epic scene between Meri and Cody where I don't even know why. Does anything Cody does make sense? Goes to see Meri and essentially tells her, yeah, I've never loved you. I never should have married you. However, it doesn't mean I can't work on things. Like, she's like, the fuck is wrong with you? What are we working on? Well, I left your ass. I ain't inviting you here. I don't even know why you're here. And then, of course, he's like, well, Robin wanted me to come over and invite you to Christmas. She's like, no. And he goes, but don't worry. I don't ever really listen to my wife. It's like, I'm so confused. It was so good. Okay, so he delivered me from all of my fears. Now, this episode is super telling as well because we really fast forward getting to present time. In fact, after, remember from episode 1 of season 19, the show obviously mentions Garrett's passing and Garrison's passing, excuse me. And then it also says, oh, by the way, this was filmed in late 2022. Now, by this time, we have sped way up into 2023. And we're beginning to speed up into 2023, probably like the spring of 2023, because we know David Woolley and Christine Brown have been married for about a year. They got married last fall. So we are getting caught up real quick over the next episodes, 7, 8, 9, 10, coming closer to real time. There's been so much discussion about this because scenes appear to be jumping back and forth from present time, from past time. They obviously did at TLC a lot of editing. I'm so curious what they're going to do with this old footage. I mean, I have to believe they probably shot an entire season that they are disregarding, like they are getting rid of. And here we are. We're going to catch it up. So, I mean, look, they're either doing that because they've gotten such backlash from fans that they had to make good on it, or they need to address Garrison's passing like this season, that it wouldn't make sense, wouldn't be right. They can't go a whole nother 2 seasons without addressing it. Is kind of what I think. All right, well, let's start. The episode begins with First of all, people are noticing there's a couple of scenes at the very beginning where Cody's hair is straight, and now people want to know if Cody had a perm. I always thought, didn't Cody always like blow it out? Didn't he always blow dry it, like have it straightened? Wasn't the joke always the fifth wife in the family was Cody's hair? So I'm assuming the curls are not a perm, but that's like actually his real hair. And then we just see him in various states over the years where he would like blow it out, right? And I mean, even the fact that this man would take time and either use a straightener or blow it out straight, that right there is just the indication of what a narcissist that we are truly living with. Now, the other thing a lot of people are loving about this episode, which did not go unnoticed, is there's hardly any Robin. We open the episode where it's Christmas Day at everybody's homes, okay? Christine is in Utah with a few of her kids. Janelle is in North Carolina with a couple of her kids. Robin and Cody are with their own children. And of course, Robin's older kids from her previous marriage, right? And like Cody is like absolutely giddy. Like he doesn't he look like Cody? These scenes, Cody is like, we are having Christmas Day as a family for the very first time. He looks like a man that has just murdered his wife on Dateline. You know what I mean? You know how on Dateline, they always get like the Scott Petersons and all that. And at first they're trying to get out the tears because they've just hired a hit on their wife and she's gone. And they're like, oh, I can't believe it. It'll be the first holiday without her. And then before you know it, they're caught like at a bar having the time of their lives. Like he looked like he was caught in a Dateline scene. I mean, he was so thrilled that no other wives were around. And I do have to say, we started in this episode with Sabin, and I thought, I can't. And you guys know this. I definitely, Cody and Robin are like, I mean, they ain't likable. I mean, I can't say they're my favorites, but I don't like dislike them so much. I don't spend a lot of time on my Reddit, doing a deep dive into how much I can't stand them. But I did have a sigh of like, are we going to have Sabin? Like, is this testimonial of her in a closet where it looks like she drank a fifth of vodka and she's on her iPhone filming herself? Like, is this going to be all of Christmas Day? But thankfully, that was like all we saw of Sabin this episode. And it was lovely, actually. I actually want more episodes of just Cody interacting with the other wives and less Robin. So Robin admits it's not going to be a perfect Christmas. I do have to say the Christmas music that they played throughout North Carolina, throughout Flagstaff and Utah really has gotten me in the mood. I'm actually this year somewhat ready to skip Halloween and even Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving's my least favorite holiday and get right to Christmas. I am ready. I was in the mood. All right. So Cody is giddy beyond belief. I mean, the guy looks like I said, he's like a Dateline killer, really. And we hear Cody and Robin go overboard on the gifts. He goes, oh, he's like a child, like, Robin loves to wrap them. And Robin is like, all these gifts, this is freaking Cody's spending addiction. She doesn't say that, but you know what? We know what she means. You know what I mean? So they apparently have like all these gifts under the tree. They've gone all out. Hey, maybe you could put some of that money towards Truly. Just saying. Just saying. Seems like there's a child support payment under there. That's all I'm going to say. Then we go to Christine's. Christine is there with Aspen and Mitch and McKelty and the babies and Isabel and Truly. And they're in Utah. And we get a special appearance at one point by Peyton. Janelle's in North Carolina. And again, we've talked about this because it was very big last week. But it's so sad. This would have been filmed Christmas probably of 2022. It definitely was. And it doesn't appear that Garrison was there. So you just wonder how many Christmases she spent with Garrison, Janelle, and had with the kids. It's sad. I don't know. They don't address where the other children are. So it makes it kind of hard. I mean, obviously Logan's married, and so maybe they did their own thing, but you don't really know where the other kids are. And then Meri is in Salt Lake City with Lisa, who used to babysit her, and her friend Amber. And we don't know where Leon is. We don't, and I mean, Gwen, there ain't no mention of Gwen and Bia. Where, where they at? Clearly not celebrating with the old sister wives. But not even a reference, not even like well, Meri didn't say like Leon couldn't make it. And where's our girl Jen? I mean, Meri can have other friends, but she and Jen are besties, besties. So it does seem kind of sad for Meri, I will say. Meri seems happy. She's like celebrating with her friends, but there seems like a level of, it feels sad for Meri. Now, McKelty jumps in. She says the whole family traditions are going to look, incredibly different. And, it's just not going to be the same. And then the picture, and then the producers, I think, where they continue to troll us, then scroll to a picture of like a church. It's like, it's almost like, yeah, the traditions aren't going to look the same. Guys are all excommunicated from the AUB. You've all left. Cody's been he's looked down upon in the community. So it's just like Real Housewives of Salt Lake. They're like, dun, dun. And then they show like the church looming in the background of how their lives have all completely gone downhill. Wow. And then pretty quickly, we go from Christmas. Yeah, the traditions are different. We're all going to be, we're kind of alone. Janelle's doing this. Meri's like with her friend Amber, who used to babysit her. And then we're going real quick to Christine talking to the kids about David. And Aspen is featured, and Isabel. And let's get into David. So Christine tells them that she went on a date with, well, first of all, Christine kind of sets it up that she's hired a matchmaker and she's been going on these dates. And she's gone on a date with a super religious dude, and then a second date with a guy who, once he heard about that she was a former polygamist, he was totally weirded out and like deuces. Never called her back. I mean, she doesn't say that, but I'm reading between the lines, okay? I'm taking some creative liberties here. And that dude was like, oh, goes home, Googles her, is like, hell no, bitch. I don't want anything to do with y'all. Kody Brown, no thank you. He's like, I ain't helping her pay for that lawyer to get the money for Truly. So she does admit to the camera, Christine does, that she never really realized that polygamy was going to be an issue. So she didn't realize how shocked people would be. And it's kind of like people are really looking, kind of down on her. And I just wondered, it always is funny to me because it reminded me of when I was dating. I've been with my husband Schman for over a decade. But what were some turnoffs for you? Like when people would say things to you, like when they would like admit fetishes, was that always a turnoff? It just got me thinking. There were so many things. I mean, my problem was I would always go out with these goddamn guys for like 4 hours and I would think this guy is great. And then at the end, he'd be like, yeah, I'm still married. I'm like getting divorced. And, my ex-wife and I are still sharing a house and the 3 kids. I'm like, 3 kids? You could have led with that. So it wasn't really a fetish. Like, I wish I'd gone out with some men that had fetishes. Anyhow, not that polygamy is really a fetish, but maybe it is to people. Like, oh, cool. You used to bang like this guy that had like 4 wives. Excellent. And, they pan to Kody and they're like, so, Kody, what do you think about Christine dating? And he's like, it's none of my business. In fact, that was the most sane, rational thing the man said all night. Then we go back to talking about Christine and David, and they actually met on a website, not through the matchmaker. So again, this is what drives me bonkers with the show. Was she doing like multiple platforms? And I mean, she does kind of sound like God bless Christine. She sounds like she's in her whore phase. I mean, she's like out on multiple dates. She like, I mean, we're going to get into all the nitty gritty of David Woolley. Like she wanted to jump the guy's bones after 4 minutes of meeting him. But I'm thinking to myself, they never do a good job. They're all over the place with the editing of this show. That's why I swear to God, they went back after Garrison's passing and like they threw everything out the window and restarted. We don't even know. I guess the matchmaker is like fired or something. And then she meets David on a dating website. And she's decided she wants the opposite of Kody. She wants a man with tats, a motorcycle jacket, bald, in a motorcycle. Not just the motorcycle jacket, the motorcycle. I want a man that doesn't have a motorcycle, but just wears a Hell's Angels motorcycle jacket. Not exactly. So she is, and I don't know about you guys, but I have to wonder the pressures of meeting your future husband on television and sharing it all. Like, are these two going to regret this? I mean, you think they've only been married for a year and with one another, like less than 2 years. I really don't know somebody. So this scene is epic. The kids are like so awkward with Christine, and they're all reacting to their initial thoughts of meeting him. They give first impressions. And Tony says that he's impressed. And they bring up the fact that David lost his wife years ago, like a decade ago, and they have 8 kids together. Now, it's so sad. Of course, people and In Touch magazine, everyone brought up over the past year, like the story, but she took her own life. I guess she was very depressed at times. And so Tony is the one, I do like Tony because he's always the one that moves the storyline along. He's like, yeah, I'm super impressed. Like the guy did that, kept it together. And, I'll give him credit there. Now you can already tell because it's so obvious that Christine and Tony don't really get on all that well. Although I have to say this year, they seem like this season anyway, they seem better than they ever have to me. But, I liked that Tony brought that up. And McKelty is like, Mom, you need to date more. And Christine says she's 50. She knows what she wants. And they're all kind of like, yeah. And Christine's like going like, I've gone on 8 dates. I've gone on 8 dates. I'm 50. I know what I want. I'm 50. I'm flirty, horny as a goat. And I know what I want. And they're like, girl, you need to date around so much more. Like you have no idea. And we also find out, and I think I had remembered this, that David is like 9 years older than Christine. So when this is filmed, she's 50, he's 59. And they're debating if, in fact, David Woolley is a baby boomer because Tony drops and this is like the ultimate burn. Like you could see Christine seething, like just like, Tony, save this for your fucking Patreon. Okay, pal, do me a favor. Don't bring this shit to me on camera. But Tony goes, he reminds me of Tony goes, he reminds me of Cody. And she's like, what? She's like, no, 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 no. No, he doesn't. And they're debating if David is in fact a baby boomer or not. Well, he's a baby boomer. Okay. And so Christine's like, oh, I didn't realize that. He's a baby boomer like my mom. And then this is where a lot of fans last night and into this morning have given, like a lot of people are pretty up in arms about this because Christine essentially says, I don't even really care about how you feel about David. Like, I want to hear it, but I don't care how you all feel because it wouldn't stop me from pursuing a relationship. Yikes. How'd you guys feel about that? Do you think what like oh my God, my mom. Does anyone else's mom like blow them up? Like my mom, if I don't answer right away, I mean, I am like 40 years old. If I don't answer right away, she'll call me 8 more times. It's like, is there an emergency? She's like, no, you just didn't answer. Are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm recording like 18 podcasts and I have a 3.5-year-old. But anyhow, I like that to me is so interesting, right? Because I can relate to Christine's storyline in the sense it's different. But my mom, after my dad passed away from cancer when I was in high school, she got remarried within 16 months of his death. And then she and my stepfather, very nice guy, but they really just didn't enjoy cohabitating together or the families didn't really blend the way they wanted. So they got divorced 15 years later. And now they like hang out all the time, but they're not married. And so I'm like, ugh. I feel like if my mom, my stepfather, like if they had listened to people who were like, why don't you guys pump the brakes, date for a little while longer and see if this is going to work, they would have saved themselves. I like a lot of people are fired up about that statement. Christine is like, I don't really care. And she says it again. Then, I mean, a lot of people, the burn when Aspen Aspen and McKelty are talking to Christine about advice and dating and when to say someone to someone that you love them or when you should get engaged. And McKelty says, well, I got engaged to Tony after like 2 months. I asked him to marry me. And Aspen's like, yeah, we're not talking about you right now. Okay. And like, I gotta know. My people that are not McKelty stans had to have loved that moment. Then we get into this is the other thing that producers do every single episode, and it cracks me up, is now they are beginning to ask the cast these like general questions. Last week it was like, hey, would you ever like trade off and breastfeed another person's kid? Like, did y'all ever do that in the Sister Wives realm? And I always feel like there's this underlying sexual tension to it, you know? Not that eating your placenta has any sort of sexual, I mean, I guess that's like a major turn off. So last week it was placentas and breastfeeding. This week they go down the line of PDA except for Robin. We just erased Robin from this whole thing. They're like, you know what? We're going to give you all a break from Robin. So we asked, because Christine and David are full on PDA, and the kids are having a hard time with this. They're like, yeah, we're happy for you, but we'd rather see you two not fucking tongue wrestling every time we're together, just trying to watch a Sunday football game. And then Cody says that he hated PDA because it was so hard for him because he had 4 wives. And he just didn't feel like it was right. And then Meri's like, I like a little PDA, but there's a limit to it. And so we go through all that. And Christine's like, I love PDA. I'm all about it. I'm not going to stop. I don't care. David and I are into each other. We met for 2 hours and we were undressing each other with our eyes. And we knew we wanted to bang within moments. And she says it again. Christine tells the kids over and over, their opinions really don't matter. That's like a little weird, right? Or do you think they're all adults except for Truly? Doesn't matter. Truly, by the way, says he's nice. She says David's really nice. And that's kind of, all Truly says, which is fine. She's still a kid. Peyton's there. Peyton weighs in. Why are we filming Peyton at that strip club, by the way? I want to see Peyton at that old strip club, but we don't get any Peyton at the strip club. And he says ultimately he thinks they're moving too fast, which was the general premise of this entire episode, but he thinks his mom is going to be okay. And then Christine talks about the connection that she and David had. I liked this part. Because she reveals that she's met all of David's kids and they had this moment where it was a lot like she was meeting all the kids and things were moving so fast. And then they sort of like embraced each other's hands and felt each other's hearts. And while everything was moving so fast, it was also the calmest that Christine had ever felt in her life. And, she gets teary-eyed. And if you're like me, you got to love. And I mean, I give her credit. I give her a lot of credit for sharing all this. So she's in love. She is in it. And then we head to it's NYC. And then we head to North Carolina with Janelle. Savannah's there, Maddie. And Janelle is talking about getting Cody to buy her out of Coyote Pass. Has it already happened? Ugh, great question. Janelle has said she's even consulted with a lawyer. I wonder if you're going to see more of that. Like, I wonder if that's coming in real time. And Janelle says, I have no retirement. All of my money, my retirement money, all of that is tied up in Coyote Pass, in the properties that Cody and Robin and Janelle owns with them. So she did just buy that Tata Farms. I don't know, it was like 100 and something acres in North Carolina. And you have to wonder, did Cody buy her out? And is that going to be an unfolding storyline? Because how did they get the money for Tata Farms? Then we go to Cody wanting to visit with Meri. Meri has gotten this release from their old church. She is no longer married to Cody in the eyes of God. And obviously she divorced him physically a while ago. So this is the most epic scene, I think, of last night. I mean, make it make sense. He is so crazy. So Cody goes into it and he goes, I don't want to say that Meri gaslighted me, but basically, I'm going to throw it out here. I'm going to float it out here and plant it in everyone's mind that Meri gaslighted me. And he says that my whole marriage to Meri, she said one thing and did another. And the only thing I'm guilty of is I would love this woman even when I didn't love her. I really wasn't attracted to her, and it was never good enough. So Cody rolls up and he is going to talk to Meri. And then we kind of pop back to Dave and Christine for a second. And we find out that Christine, which, see, I love this because I actually did this. And I would say if you're single listening to this or you want to get remarried, this is actually such a genius idea. But Christine says that Nancy, their therapist, had suggested to her a while ago that she make a list of all the things that she wanted in a man. I did this when I was like single, looking for my husband. And then just like Dave Woolley says, when I least expected it, I attracted my husband. So she makes a list and she realizes all the things she wants in a husband, Cody is not. And she even tells Cody that. She takes it to Cody and she tells him, you ain't even on the list, sweetie. And Cody's like, okay, well, head out there and find it. Like, he could care less this season. So Dave and Christine, are dating for about a month, and we find out that he owns a drywall company in Utah with a great reputation. I believe this. Dave Woolley seems like a salt of the earth guy that I would enjoy very much. I would buy drywall from. I think he's very successful. And I do give Dave Woolley a ton of credit that he would put his relationship out there. I think he loves Christine a lot. I don't think he's on the show or with Christine for fame. And the door scene is my favorite, where he's coming over to her house and she opens the door in those pleather pants and that red top. And she's like, hey, baby. She must have had all she could do to keep clothes on. Like, do you think production had to say to her, Christine, like, you can't open the door here in a robe. Okay. This is still like a family show. She's like, hey, baby. And she like looks him up and down. That looked like a paying call. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God. Hey, baby. David says, David like comes right in the house. He's like, hey. And then they sit down and they talk about their relationship. And David says, I'm your burrito. And she's like, I think that's probably inappropriate. What does it mean when people say, I'm your burrito? What does it mean? Slang. I'm your burrito. This really sounds like I'm into shitting on you or something. Slang. Let's see. Oh God, I don't think it has any sexual meaning. But anyhow, she's like, I think that's kind of inappropriate. I'm your burrito. I don't know. Like, what is that? Like I'm a treat in your mouth? And so Dave says, look, when we went out on the first couple of dates, she was super horny. She was all over me. I didn't kiss her on date 1. I didn't kiss her on date 2. But she was all over me. And she was desperate for attention. And she said, yeah, I was. I mean, I give her credit. She does admit. I was desperate for attention, really just attention from you. So then we go back to Cody and Meri. And he tells her, and he tells us, I wish I had never married Meri. I don't even know why he's there. He's in this bizarre state where he's just telling her how much he's not attracted to her, doesn't want to be with her, says their relationship now was on the rocks the entire time. And then he goes on to literally say he had a better relationship with everyone aside from Meri. Janelle, obviously we know Robin, Christine, and Janelle is like, who the fuck is this dude? Who is he? This is not the Cody we all married. I don't even know who this man is. And that's when Cody gets into, and he does this whole thing, like in the scene, he's all, he's like going back and forth with Meri. And he's, like saying to her all about their relationship, like highs and lows. So anyway, I'll get into even more than that. But then there were a couple things I forgot that I wanted to mention about Christine and David. So third date, they made out. And, like I said, I don't know why at the start of this, I said this. I want to know when these two had sex. Like, why didn't we hear that from the producer? Because these two must have boned within 4 dates, like within a week. But I'm with Dave. I loved how David Woolley said, you know what? You do always find someone when you least expect it. That's how I found my husband. And Dave said he loves her crazy. Excellent, as every man should say. And then, okay, and then that was really it. Then we go to Kody. And, Kody in this scene looks so miserable. Like, for all the PDA that David and Christine had, like, it's too bad that Robin would have, like, blown him or something before he went over to see Meri because he looks so miserable. And he starts back in with this whole line, don't blame me for not loving you. Blame yourself for me not loving you. That's it. That's what he says. I'm like, what? And he goes into this whole diatribe that if he's mad about a woman, if he wants to rub her feet, I just have these images from last night of Kody Robin, like rubbing Robin's feet. Like, could you imagine getting a foot rub from Kody Brown? Nothing seems worse to me. Nothing seems more awkward. Those noodles on the head and those hands on your feet. Ooh, honey. Oh, maybe that's his fetish. Like, he loves feet. And he just goes into like, if I'm doing all that and you're not in love with me, blame yourself because I'm giving you the best foot rub of your life. You think you've seen better on OnlyFans? Well, let these hands that have hardly done an ounce of work rub your feet. Actually, now that I think about it, he has probably very manicured hands. That might be a damn good foot rub. And then he goes into this stupid thing. Meri's like, look, I'm not going to fight with you. Okay. If you're over here to pick a fight, like it's done. I'm divorced from you. I've gotten the all clear from the church. Why are you here? And he goes, I want you to know, Meri, I can't fake it. I can't fake that I love you, but I can work on things. Oh my God, you guys, this show is so good. She's like, do you hear yourself? What are you on right now? I mean, what? She's like, there's no moving forward together. We're not like, there's nothing to work on here. And I will say this, and Meri, actually, I'm going to do a whole breakdown of this because, I'm on nonstop sister wives podcasting watch. But Meri just posted on her Instagram yesterday that it was the anniversary of meeting Kody and that she's really released herself emotionally. I mean, I think the hardest part of watching this show this season is seeing how much Meri blames herself. Like, and I do have to wonder, does Meri still have guilt around that whole catfishing situation? Is that why she still feels guilty? I don't know. Because Meri in this scene is like, I still feel guilty. And I'm like, come on, Queen, you didn't do anything wrong. There's no way this man fell in love with Robin and that was it. You guys are not guilty of anything. You thought you were in love, but then to Christine's point, because Christine says it, Christine's like, I understand Kody and Robin now. I have found my soulmate in David. And once that happens, I understand why Kody didn't want to be away from Robin. I mean, that to me was like full circle of the night. Cody's really there because he's pissed at Meri, and she knows it because the church called him and said, look, we gave her the release because of abandonment. And he hates that word. And Meri's like, well, it's the truth. Like, bye. You've abandoned all of us for the last decade, and you're in love with Robin. And then he tells Meri, Meri, I want you to know that I felt compelled to stick it out with you, Meri. And he compares their relationship to like Sonny and Cher getting divorced, almost insinuating that, you know what? When Sonny and Cher, how are we, like the references that he pulls out of his ass, it reminded me of Sonny and Cher getting divorced. And I was in such shock. I thought to myself, I'm going to stay with Meri. Because it'll be like the level of Sonny and Cher getting divorced if we get divorced. To be fair, he's not wrong. Then he says again, like, I wish I'd never married you. Like, I wish I'd never married her. This is what he tells us in his confessional. And he says that no matter what he did for Meri, it was never enough. And like I mentioned earlier, he said their relationship was on the rocks the entire time. Then he goes into the fighting and fucking. And of course, he doesn't say the fucking part. And he goes, you know what that just creates? Orgasms. It's like, yeah, maybe you need one. And then, I mean, he just goes on like every opportunity he can. I give Meri a ton of credit too. He tells her that she's the wrong person constantly, but he's there to work on himself and he's there to work on their relationship. She's like, there's nothing to work on. Why are you here? Get lost. How did she not kick his ass out in that moment? This is what is missing from this show, though. I want these women to get fired up. Kick his ass through the curb. They never do that. They never get, oh, I mean, Janelle did it one time. She told him to F himself and get out. That was such a great feeling. All right, so then we go back. So that's it. You know, we're kind of back and forth. Meri is like absolutely baffled. We go back to Christine and David one more time, and Christine is like, you know, a month into dating David. We see them out on a date, and she said, you know, what's amazing is there's no threat of polygamy in our relationship. And she said, can you imagine thinking that polygamy is a threat? And she said, I never used to think that, but now I do. And I'm like, yeah, girl, it's what the rest of us have been seeing for 14 years, 19 seasons, 14 years on TV. Woo! And then Kody and Meri do end on a little bit of a mutual ground note, right? So the tension kind of goes out of the room for a bit. And Kody says, you know, oh, my wife, you know, I do still have one wife. And she wanted me to invite you, Meri, to Christmas, but I don't really listen to Robin. And Meri's like, what? Meri's like, Meri at this point realizes he's such a narcissistic nut, like we all said online. Meri's like, okay, yeah, you don't listen to Robin? I'm pretty sure Robin's dictated a lot of your lives. He's like, nope, Meri, you underestimate me if you don't think I'm a man of my own mind. She's like, you know what I want to estimate is how quickly your ass is going to be out of my house. That's what I want to estimate. And Meri is truly like, we're exes. Bye-bye. You know, you don't need me. You don't need to worry about me. Like, goodbye. And I will say, I thought this episode ended on such a great note. And Meri says, I wish you knew how amazing I was. Now, did you feel like that moment was empowering for Meri or a little desperate? I always think when people say things like that, does that convince us of their worth or just make us feel pity for them? You know what I mean? I wish you knew how amazing I was. See, to me, like the ultimate would have been, I don't know, I would have had so much chutzpah, I would have kicked his fucking ass right out of the house. Like, that's what I would have done. Hey, could you turn around? I'm about to put a boot in your ass. I don't know. I thought that moment was a little like, Meri, you don't need to tell him. He's never going to know. Like, why do we tell people that? You know, have you ever been at like a job interview or someone's pitched themselves and they're like, I'm just really, you know, I know my worth and I want you to know how amazing I am at this workplace. You're like, ugh, you have to say it. I don't know. I love my girl Meri, but that was a little sus. Okay, we are going to jump way ahead. Coming up in episode 7, they are now going to be looking at engagement venues. So again, we have to be in the spring of 2023. They are looking at engagement, you know, because they look like they have jackets on, like it's still a little cool out. So maybe it's like April. We're jumping way ahead. We're seeing those guys get married. And then I think we are going to be pretty close to probably getting to Garrison's passing. And then I think they're reshooting at season 20 and maybe season 21. But last night was so great. What did you all think? You know, I'm going to have a lot more commentary and feedback all week long on this Sarah Fraser show. So, of course, subscribe to the pod. But last night was so good. Oh, my God. Cody's one-liners, I can't even. The level of delusion. He loves that line. Blame yourself if you don't love me. And there's effing and fighting. Or fighting and effing. And you know what that creates? Just an orgasm. Oh my God. And when the guy goes, you know what? I rub your feet. And when I'm in love with a woman, I rub her feet. Okay, like that's what else, pal? We know you buy overpriced, trashy, horrible art and you live in a purple bedroom. Oh my God. Could not have been better. Okay. Love you guys. Bye, everybody.